Hello, neighbor. It's so nice to see you tonight here at Creating in My Corner. I'm Alicia Dolan, and tonight we are, for our Stampin' Sunday, we're actually going to go through a whole card class. Well, what I would consider kind of a mini class, because we're going to do 3 cards. And if you place an order of $35 or more using the host code that I post later, you can get this card class for free. And I just wanted to take a second to tell you what that means. So if you get the card class for free, you would get in the mail a packet like this, and it contains all the supplies that you need to make 2 each of the 3 cards that we're going to make tonight. So I just wanted to go over that real quick to let you know the class technically is free because I'm doing it here on Facebook for you live. But if you place the order, then I send you all the pieces that I've cut and prepared, and you can make the card on your own. It's a little bit different from an in-person card class because when you come here, you would use all my stamps and my ink to make the cards. So those are things that you will have to either purchase separately or swap out for something that you already have at home. All right, I am going to turn the camera around and we'll go ahead and get started with our class. We're going to make 3 cards tonight. I'll show you each one. So this is the first one. I'm still figuring out which way is the best way for me to show you the cards. And this is the second one. I know they're a little bit bright. There we go. That's the second one. And here is the third one. And I'll actually be sending all the measurements out for these this week. So you'll get those in your email if you're subscribed to my email list. This is a class that I did both on Friday here at my home and on Saturday at a women's retreat. So it was a class that really went over well. It doesn't seem like the right time of year, I guess, for the beach theme, but it's kind of nice to think about warmer climates and warmer times right now. So hold on one second. I'm going to turn the camera around and we'll get started with our cards for tonight. Okay, and hopefully you didn't see too much of that messy basement while I was switching the camera around. I am working on getting it cleaned up down here, but so far it's still a mess. Little bits at a time. I did throw out 2 big bags this week, and so I feel like I am at least making progress. Okay, tonight I'm gonna stamp on my Stamparatus, but I'll actually be using, I'll probably be using some blocks and not the acrylic plate on my Stamparatus, but we'll see how it goes. I use mostly blocks this week, but I would like to use them, I think, for these palm trees here. And this is the first card we're going to make. So if you have a packet or the class kit, you would take out your first pieces. So I always include envelopes with my cards, with my card classes, and enough pieces to make the card. So we have 2 pieces of basic white that are 4 by 5 1/4. We have a tiny punch circle, a little oval, and this is from the All That dies, and a little bow that's made of linen thread. So first, we're going to stamp the inside of our card. So I can open up this sample for you and show you what that looks like. So from our stamp set, we're going to need this curved tree trunk and the small palm leaves. And we also need our crumb cake and old olive ink. Whoops. Okay, so we'll open these up. And hopefully this makes you think of warmer days. I know here it is really cold outside. All right, and I'm just gonna put this home trunk on a clear block, and this one is an H block. And I'm gonna stamp this. Okay, now first, my first tip is when you're stamping, you wanna take your ink and you just wanna tap your stamp on there. You wanna try to hold your block so that it's really level with the table, and you're just gonna stamp it all around. Because sometimes the ink will gather in one spot on your ink pad, and you want your stamp to be as even as possible. And when you turn it over, it should be all inked up. But I like to stamp off once first and just make sure that I'm getting the nicest image that I can. And when I stamp, I lower my block down and press in the center. Now I'm not pushing so hard that it squishes into my paper or that the ink oozes around. You just want to press with firm pressure, you don't want to overdo it, okay? So then we'll tap again on that ink, and I want my my tree trunk to come off the side like this. So I'm going to stamp it just like that and then press in the center. And so there is my tree trunk. And now before I move on, because I want my envelope to match, I'm going to take just a second, turn my envelope over, and I am going to stamp this at the same time. So I'm going to tap, tap, tap in my ink again. It's really more than 3 taps. It's more like 5 to 7 taps, okay? But they're just little ones. And then I'm going to stamp on my envelope, pressing in the center, just like that. And then I'm going to stamp my ink off just a little bit. And I'm going to use my chamois to clean my stamp. This is a brand new chamois, guys. I almost hate to use it, but I'm breaking it in tonight live with you. So isn't it so pretty? It smells nice too, fresh from an order. Okay, and I'm going to set that aside because I know I'm going to use it again later. Now I'm going to grab another block, and this is block D. So I'm going to turn my little palm fronds over and place them on here. I'm going to close up my crumb cake ink and open my old olive. I can't see if anyone is commenting yet tonight, but if you are commenting or sharing this video, then let me know. And I will be sure to answer and respond to your comments and check out your shares. I really appreciate it. All of that helps me know that you are here and that you're enjoying the videos. All right, so now we're gonna do our best to line this up so that our tree trunk hits the center of our palm fronds. If we don't get it perfect, that's okay, but we're gonna try. And then just press it again in the center. Oh, and I forgot to practice stamp that time. Okay, so there is our inside piece. And I'm gonna do the same thing again with my envelope. Now, if you get the instructions and you're following along and it doesn't exactly follow the video, know that this time I wrote most of the instructions before I made the video. I sat down this afternoon and tried to write out as much as I could to kind of get ahead, because it takes a lot of time to write out tutorials for 4 different cards. Okay, and you can see that even though I stamped off on my paper there, there's still quite a bit of ink on my stamps. So you always want to clean them right after you use them. Okay, and I'm going to set that aside because I am going to use it again on the front of the card. But right now, I'm going to stop and fold my card. And I'm just going to fold it in half. Now, if you have the kit, then I have probably already scored your cardstock for you. So we're going to fold it in half and then grab our bone folder and we're just going to press that fold. And I always try to press the fold on the back side of the card, because sometimes with my bone folder, I get a little carried away and I'll get a little mark here along the edge. And I just want to put that in the back. So I'll flip it over and this is going to be the front. And here's our inside. All right, so I'm going to close up this old olive ink just so I don't have any little accidents. And I'm going to turn over the piece that I stamped for the inside. Okay, I still don't see any comments, so hopefully you guys can see me and hear me okay. I don't see any comments that say you can't hear me, but I don't see any comments that say you can. So I'm going to keep going. All right, and I'm going to use liquid glue to put my pieces together. Liquid glue is my favorite type of glue. I feel like it's really easy to use. I know that everyone has their own preference. So I like to do a thin line around the edge. And it's important when you're using the liquid glue that you don't press that end of the glue into the paper, because it will, it's a rounded tip, but it will emboss it just like you would use an embossing tool. So you don't want to press it too hard into your paper or you'll get lines. As it is, I did press a little hard on that side and I can see a little bit of a line. So then we're going to line that up so that it's in the center and just press it down. And we can make sure that we press all the way around and through the middle. All right, and there we have the inside of our card, and we can start on the front. So we have another piece over here of 4 by 5 1/4 basic white. We're going to put that down and we're going to stamp the front of our card. So first I'm going to stamp this little sand down here, and that's in crumb cake. But to get it to be a little bit lighter of an image, what we want to do is stamp off. All right, so I have another block H here, and I'm going to put this image right here that's going to be our sand on that block. Just like that. Okay, and I'm going to tap, tap, tap on my crumb cake ink. And I'm going to practice stamp over here on the side just to make sure the image is what I want it to be. I'm going to tap, tap, tap again. And this time when I stamp on the side, this is going to be our stamping off. So we're going to stamp once over here on the side. We're going to huff on our stamp just a little bit. And then we're going to stamp where we want our sand to be. So right about here. And then we're going to press in the center and pick it up. And see how that image is just a little bit lighter than it would have been if we had stamped it directly. Right, and then we're going to clean this stamp off. And this one we can put back because we're only making one sand image this time. So we're just going to slide that right back in its place. And I'm going to take out our straight tree trunk. And I'm going to place it on that block. Okay, so I'm going to stamp that one first. So here we go again. We're going to tap, 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 kind of move it around. We're going to stamp over here on the side, our practice stamp. Then we're going to tap, tap, tap again. And this one is not a real solid image. There are places in here, if you look at the front, where it's got lighter and darker marks. So it's not going to be solid all the way through. So we're going to stamp this one right here on the left and press in the center. And then we're going to take our curved tree trunk and we're going to tap, tap, tap and practice stamp. And we're going to tap, tap, tap again. And then we're going to stamp it right over here next to the first one. And I'm going to put it down a little bit so it's a little bit lower than the first. Now, you don't have to place your stamps in the same place that I put mine. You can totally do whatever you decide looks best. All right, and now I'm going to get my old olive ink. And in our Paradise Palms stamp set, there are two different sizes of palm trees. So this one here is a little bit bigger, and the one that we've already used is a little bit smaller. So I'm using the smaller one right now. I'm tap, tap, tapping in my old olive ink. I'm going to do my practice stamp this time because I forgot the last time. I'm going to tap, tap, tap again. And I'm going to do my best to line it up so that those palm fronds, that the center of this is close to my tree trunk. So I'm going to line that up, press it down, and this time it was right over the top. So then I'll stamp off over here. I'm going to clean this one off and swap it out for the next color. All right, so we're just going to clean that off on our chamois. And I can peel off the smaller palm leaves and put those back away. And I'll grab this little bit larger one. Place it on my block, and then I'm going to tap, 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 practice stamp, Tap, tap, tap again. Now, if you need to practice stamp in a place where there isn't already a stamp, I would suggest that you just have a piece of copy paper next to you. You can use grid paper if you want to, but a lot of the time I'll just practice stamp on my copy paper. All right, and we're going to line that up so that it's hopefully over the top. And press in the center. And there we have our 2 little palm trees. Okay, and now I can clean all these stamps off and put those away right quick before we continue on to our next step. And this chamois is really great for that. You can quick clean your stamps and get them put away so that they don't end up with stains, or so that you're not putting your arms in your ink. I tend to do that a lot, or get the edges of my fingers, or I'll flip a card and it'll get in the ink, and it can be a little frustrating to try and fix all those little inky marks that you wouldn't necessarily have to have. Okay, so there are all of those. And then we're going to stamp our happy birthday in a minute. So we might as well just get that out and put it to the side. But next, we're going to take one of these little sponge daubers and some So Saffron yellow ink. And we're just going to dab our sponge dauber in there. And then up in the corner here where we're going to put our sun, we're going to sponge around and get some of that yellow sunshine up there. Now you can swirl it, you can dab it, any way you choose to get that yellow up there. If you have a blending brush, you can use that instead. Blending brushes look like this, and you can see that I've used mine for blue and purple. This one, I try to keep one for lighter colors and one for darker colors, but they don't seem to transfer too much color between cards. So, all right, so here's our little yellow area where our sun's gonna go. Sorry, that's a little noisy today, that plate over there while I'm sponging. Okay, so now we have a little yellow area for our sun, little rays of sunshine streaming out. And I punched a little So Saffron circle here, and this was a 3/4 inch punch. Stampin' Up does not sell this small a punch anymore, but you could cut out a little circle. And actually there is a circle in the stamp set, so you could stamp this and then cut a fussy cut around it. So you wouldn't have to be making up a circle, you would just be cutting around that little circle. All right, so we'll peel the back off our little dimensional and stick it on here. Oh, I should have put this front on the card before I got that far. Okay, so if I was thinking ahead, I would have put this front on the card before I put that little sunshine on. Not because it's going to hurt anything, but because I'm going to use the liquid glue around here. And if you were using a tape runner, you'd run into that little bump from the Stampin' Dimensional. So if you're following along, hopefully you're not that far yet. So stop right now before you put that sunshine on and glue your, now where did I put my glue? I know I had an open one. And glue your front to your card. You guys, where did I put the glue? Oh, I see it. All right, I'm gonna move it over. Here's my little glue turtle. It was actually not supposed to be a glue turtle. It was supposed to be for a little plant, I'm sure. But I like to set my glue in there while I'm working so that it doesn't get lost like I just lost it. All right, so we're gonna put our little skinny line of glue around, and we're not gonna press into our cardstock. We're just lightly putting it on in our squiggle down the middle. And then we can turn over that and add it right to the front of our card. Hopefully that little sunshine is helping you think warm thoughts. I know it helps me. All right, so that's all glued down. See how I can't press in that spot then because I already put some there. Okay, so there's our card so far. Next, we're gonna stamp our little happy birthday. And right here, I have a little oval cut out of basic white. And this is from the All That Dies. Okay, so another really cool thing, if you purchase something so that you get the class, I get all these little die cuts for you. So you get the little oval, you get the little sun. You don't have to cut all those out on your own. Well, I think that's a cool little bonus. But maybe not everyone does. Okay, I have to tap really gently because I just re-inked this and I don't want it to be too much. All right, so I'm gonna press in the center, but pretty lightly. And then it's stuck. So I'll just tap it off. Well, it's not exactly perfect right there, even though I practiced. But let's see. Yep, I'm gonna go with it anyway. It still says happy birthday. You can read it. It's gonna be fine. All right, I can see that 2 people are watching right now. So hello, whoever you are. Thank you for joining me. I'm so glad that you're here. All right, now because I'm using my black ink, I'm actually going to clean it on my Stampin' Scrub instead of using my brand new chamois because I don't want it to be too colorful just yet. So there are 2 options for cleaning your stamps. There's a Stampin' Chamois and there's a Stampin' Scrub. Hi, Kathy. Thank you for joining me. I feel like it's been a long time since I've seen you, and I hope you're doing good. So we're gonna spray our Stampin' Mist on here, and then we're just gonna scrub that little stamp on and scrub it up here where it's dry, and then it's all clean. All right, I'm gonna set that off to the side because I know I have some more dark colored stamping to do in a minute. All right, and I'm going to put this little happy birthday right away. And we are almost done with our first card. Okay, so here's our little happy birthday, and then we're going to take our little sponge dauber. This is the second one, not the one we used for the yellow. This one is for the old olive. And we're just going to add a little bit of ink to our oval here. So we're going to tap it, and then we're just going to sponge it like this all around the edge. And what that's going to do is just help it to stand out a little bit because we're putting a white oval on top of our white card. And we kind of want it to stand out. We don't want it to blend right in. We want to give it a little definition. Okay, so I think you can see how that makes its little edges green. Hi, Tammy. You guys are commenting. That makes me so excited. Okay. I like seeing those little eyes that tell me that people are there, but I like comments even better. It's fun. Okay, so we're going to turn our sentiment over. We're going to add a dimensional to the back and peel off the back of that. I'm just going to scoot this out of the way again. And we're going to put our sentiment right here. Thank you, Tammy. All right, and then we need a mini glue dot. Hold on, I have to find them. Because, like I told you, I had a class. Hi, Pauline. You guys are all commenting. Now I'm even more excited. It's so fun. I don't know if you've ever done a video, but it's so fun to have people comment. Okay, and so I stuck my little bow on to my mini glue dot and just picked it right up. And then we can, you know what, I'm gonna pinch it together a little bit here in the back because I don't want it to get in the card and then have that little mini glue dot stick to the envelope. And then if someone couldn't get it out of the card, I would be really sad. All right, so we're gonna stick our little bow on, and then I feel like its ends are a little bit too long, but I did make the ends long so that if you want to, look, you can just trim it to the right size. And I feel like that's perfect. Okay, so here is our first card all the way done. So we have our matching envelope with the little palm tree hanging on the side. And then here's our card, and inside we have a little palm tree. Now, if you want to, and you have a wink of Stella, you can color this little sun. I don't know if you can see it on this one, but I did color that little sun, and it just gives it a little bit of sparkle, a little extra sparkle to the sunshine. Funny story though, my dog yesterday morning stole my wink of Stella out of my bag as I was getting ready to go and ate it. So I have to order a new wink of Stella glitter brush, and I am going to keep it very safe the next time. I am not going to let her anywhere near that. All right, so now we can move on to our next card. That's the first one for our class, and this is the next one. So we're using the same stamp set and a totally different color scheme. Okay, and this one's kind of fun too, so I'm excited to show you how this goes together. All right, first we're gonna get our little circle out of the packet. And I can't remember exactly the measurement of this circle, but let's see if we can figure it out. It is in the instructions. So if you're signed up for my email, the exact measurements aren't in there. So it's about, I think about 2 5/8 across. And this is a shimmery white circle. So shimmery white cardstock is a little bit different than basic white. It's a little bit thicker. It's kind of an off-white color. It's not exactly white, but it's not vanilla either. It's in between the two. And if you look at it closely, you can see a little bit of sparkle and a little bit of shimmer. So because it's a little bit thicker, and because of whatever they do to it to make it shimmery like that, it takes water really well. So what we're going to do is we are going to do a little bit of watercolor to get our background. So we're going to squeeze our ink pad together. And if you squeeze your ink pad together, when you open it up, you'll have this lovely little spot here that you can use. So that one was So Saffron, and then I have Calypso Coral, and we're going to do the same thing, squeeze it. And sometimes I have to squeeze it a second time. It just depends on how well it squeezes the first time. Then we're going to have Polished Pink. Okay, and I'm going to move these out of the way. I've got a little too much stuff up here. Hopefully my friends who are a little OCD and don't like clutter will be able to look past that. And if you really are upset with it, you feel free to come on over here and help me get rid of some of this. Oh, you're back. Good. Okay, and so here is our blue. And this is one of our watercolor brushes. They come in a pack of 3, but this is the widest one, and this is the one we're going to use tonight. So we want to squeeze it real good to get that water going until you can see those drips coming. And sometimes I just tap it in my hand just so I know it's good and wet. And first we're going to go with the yellow. I always try to start with my lighter colors. Oh, you tried to comment and it got lost. Sometimes I don't know. It takes you places if you're not, even when you're not ready to go there. Okay, so first we're going to start up here at the top. We're going to get our yellow. Oh, and it looks like I got a little too much water. Let's see if I can get a little more yellow in there. All right, so there's our yellow. And then we're just going to swish it off over here. And next we're going to get some orange. It's not orange, it's Calypso Coral. I'm sorry, you guys. I got to call things their right names. All right, and so then we're going to swish that. And then wipe it off. I'm going to get a little more water. Not too much though. That first one, I really did get a little too much. All right, and then we need some polished pink. So we'll just swoosh it around. And then our polished pink will be in there. And I'm kind of trying to blend them a little bit. I don't mind that little line there between the Calypso Coral and the yellow, but I kind of want the orange and the pink to kind of smoosh together. All right, and then we're gonna do our balmy blue down there at the bottom. Okay, so we're just gonna swish around in our blue. And let's see, I'm just making sure I don't have anything on my fingers before I push that down. We can swoosh that blue on there. I think we need a little more blue. So let me squeeze that again. And I'm going to try not to make it quite so wet this time. So we get a little darker blue. I'm going to start down at the bottom, work my way up a little bit. Okay. Now we could go back and layer on more blue if we wanted to, but I'm just going to let that dry. And what I found is the best way for me to kind of flatten it out is if I turn it over and just let my brush be a little bit wet, just with water. And then we're going to brush the back side of it. And then because both sides have water on them, it tends to dry a little bit flatter. Okay, so I'm going to set this off to the side to dry. I'm going to close up all these inks, and later I'll just wipe that side clean with a baby wipe. I don't feel like I need to do that right now. Okay, so there are those. And then I can go back to my card and start my stamping. Okay, so this card is on a vellum cardstock base. And for the inside, we have a piece of white that's 3 3/4 by 5. And that's the same measurement for the front of the card because we want them to match up. Okay, so on this piece for the inside, we can open it up so that we see our not instructions, but our sample, right? And I'm just going to put mine right here. And we'll get out our palm trees. And I think they'll fit on this block as long as we twist it diagonal. So this is the same block we used earlier. This is block D. And we're going to grab our Memento Tuxedo Black. Now you could also use Stampin' Up's Basic Black, or you could use Stays On Black. It doesn't matter. We're just picking a black ink to use this time. All right, and we're gonna tap in our ink. And now remember, I just re-inked mine, so I am tapping super gently all around and hoping that I don't get too much ink. Now, one thing you can do if you put too much ink on is you can take your whole stamp pad and stamp it down on a piece of paper, and that will take off most of the excess. All right, I'm going to tap just a little bit more. And now I'm going to practice stamp. Oh, I should have not put this on here yet. All right, I'm going to practice stamp right down here in the corner. Press in the center, and that looks pretty good. It's still got quite a bit of ink, but I'm going to try not to get too much. Okay. So first I'm going to stamp this corner up here. So I'm going to tap really gently. I'm not pressing in at all. I love the vellum too, Tammy. It's so pretty. I made some sympathy cards before using that vellum and some of the silver foil paper, and they turned out really pretty. All right, so we're going to stamp these so that they kind of lean onto the page. I'm just going to press there in the center so they're up here in the corner. And then I want to stamp some down here at the bottom, so I'm going to tap again. And usually if you turn your stamp over and look at the bottom, if it's a little bit shiny but not too shiny, then you've got a good covering of ink and you're ready to stamp. All right, and we're going to stamp some down here on the bottom. And we're going to press in the center and then just pick up. And there is our inside of our card. And now we're going to take our time while we have everything open. I'm going to empty out the rest of the pieces that go with this card. And I'm going to stamp my envelope to match. I always like my envelope to match. And it works out good if I'm stamping the middle to stamp the envelope. So the middle, the inside is what I meant to say. Okay, so we're going to tap, tap, tap and pick up our ink. And then actually, what if we try, we're going to stamp off and then we're going to huff and stamp again out here on the outside. Just like that. And that worked too. So there's our matching envelope. That's all stamped and ready to go. Here is the inside. That's stamped and ready to go. And now we should be able to go back and stamp our circle for the front. Okay, and I'm just setting everything off to the side here. while we do that. This is still a little bit damp, so I'm going to leave it to the side for a little bit longer. I'm going to clean this off in the meantime. Okay, and set it right here, and then we'll get our sentiment ready while we're waiting. And we want to stamp, hope you find a little paradise wherever you may be. So this time I'm going to get another little block. This is block C. So this time I need my words to line up. So I'm just going to line them up along my grid paper here so that they follow one of these lines. And then I can line up my block with another line and kind of center it over the top. And then, oh, that looks really crooked to me. And let's stamp it and see how it turns out. Usually that helps me line them up a lot better, but I can tell I might not have been quite over the top of that one. All right, so if I line them up, let's see what happens. Oh, not too bad. Okay, so here we go. We're gonna line up our paper along one of our grid lines. I'm gonna tap, tap, tap. And let's see how it goes. We're gonna line it up and lay it down gently where we think the middle will be, and then we'll just press in the center. And that turned out pretty straight. It's a little closer to the bottom than the top, but it's straight. So we're gonna go with that. There are way worse stampings that could happen. All right, so that I'm gonna put on the side. I'm gonna give that watercolor piece just a few more seconds to dry. And I'm gonna put my sentiment together. So I'll turn this over and grab my liquid glue from my trusty turtle friend over here. He needs a name, maybe. Maybe my turtle needs a name. Okay, and I'm gonna put skinny line of glue around the edge and a tiny squiggle in the middle. I can turn this back over and line it up in the center. And because I use the liquid glue, we can kind of scoot it around a little bit if it's not exactly in the middle. And then we'll press it down. And I like to turn it over and press, especially with something small like this, because that way I don't scoot it by accident after it's where I want it to be. Okay, so there we have that for the front. And while we're still waiting for that to dry, let's get our card started. So we're gonna fold our vellum. Now the vellum is scored, but you'll notice that the score line is really faint. Okay, when you score vellum, there's a really good chance you could cut right through it. So you wanna be extremely careful when you score that vellum. All right, I'm gonna scoot this for a second. Just because. Okay, now we're going to use Stampin' Seal to glue this together. And because I used this at a class this weekend, I am going to make sure it's in the right spot. And I'm going to do a practice run on a piece of scrap. Where I have a piece of scrap here. Right here is a little white piece. And I'm just going to glue it on this red. Because sometimes when I'm using the tape runner, I make mistakes. They get crooked and they get offline. So what I found for me is the best way is I always have to run my tape runner exactly like this. So if I am doing different corners, I run it like this, I turn my paper. I run it like this, I turn my paper. Every time, because for me, this is the best way to keep it level. So I run that tape runner along, and then when I get to the end, I kind of tip it back and then run off. So for me, that keeps it ready for the next time I need to glue, so that my glue is always in the right spot. All right, so here's our practice one. We'll just glue it right there, just like that. Okay, so now for the real thing. Hopefully it works the same way. So here's our piece that we stamped for the inside. We're going to turn it over, and we're going to run our glue just like this. And when we get to the end, we're going to tip it back. I'm going to turn it, run my glue along to get to the end and tip it back. Now, some people have really good luck with their tape runners. I do not always. So I move a little slower, but I found that this process works the best for me. So maybe if you're struggling with your tape runner, that'll help you too. Back, and then we have our piece that's ready. And we're going to center it over our inside of our vellum card. Oh no. It wasn't centered yet. Hold on. Let's see if we can unstick it a little bit very carefully. Okay. Whew. Usually once that's stuck, it's stuck. So be careful, you guys. Be really careful. All right. So we're going to center it over. That's 2 times. But I have had slippery fingers already. All right. We're going to center it over there. And then glue it down. Now that's crooked. I don't know if you can see it from where you are, but it's a little bit crooked. I know it. I make a mess too. I feel like this is almost the only time that I use it is on vellum. I guess maybe I need more practice. Okay. Because I was used to the tape runners that we had before that just seemed to run along and not really, you didn't really have to fuss with them too much. And I feel like I have to fuss with this one a little bit. I know not everybody feels that way, so that's okay. All right, so now this is our front piece, and I embossed this with the, let's see, eucalyptus. It's called eucalyptus something, 3D embossing folder, something eucalyptus or eucalyptus. I can't remember, but it'll be in the instructions. I will write it all down. I did write it all down. I was almost done with the instructions, but my daughter borrowed my computer for a little while. She's been working on a book, you guys. She's writing a book. So, okay, back to business. We're going to run our Stampin' Seal along this way. And then we're going to tip it back. And then we're going to run it this way. And tip it back. And run it this way. And tip it back. Run it along that last side. And tip it back. Okay, now we're going to close that sucker right up. And set it to the side. Okay, now with our front piece, we want to do our best to line it up over top of our piece that's underneath. So I found that you can kind of, because I didn't go all the way to the edge with my glue, I can line it up. And then once it gets to where I want it to be, I can press it down. I almost stuck my finger in there. I don't know if you guys saw it or not, but I did almost stick my finger in there. All right. So there is our front piece. Yay. Okay. now we need to stamp this because we've got to move on. It feels like it's dry now to me. So here's our Stamparatus. I can't believe I had a clean sheet when I started this today. A clean, I can't think what it's called now. Clean grid paper. And now it is most definitely not clean anymore. Okay. So we're going to take our little palm tree stamp and our tuxedo black memento ink. And we're going to tap, tap, tap again. Until it's all covered with ink. And just go back and forth across it and down. All right, and that looks good. I'm going to practice stamp again. So right here. Looks good. Now I got to tap, tap, tap again. Sometimes I feel like that first layer of ink kind of coats it so that the second time it stamps better. So try to remember not to skip that practice step of stamping. Okay, now it's curving up, so it's making me a little bit nervous. I'm going to stick my finger. No, I'm not going to stick my finger in there. I'm just going to press it down and see how it goes. Let's see. Yep, that's better. Okay. And I'm going to turn them just a little bit. Lay it down and then press in the center. There we go. That actually looks better than my first one, I think. Okay. And then because this is the jet black memento ink, tuxedo black, I'm going to use this Stampin' Scrub to clean it. There we go. Those are clean. Oh, that one doesn't look all the way clean. I'm just going to give another scrub right while we're here. Okay. So there is that. You guys know we're ready to put this card together. Finish putting it together. So I'm going to turn this over. I'm going to grab my liquid glue. And this time, since it's a circle, we can just go around, 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 around. So it's kind of like a little swirly snail, little snail glue. And then we'll take our pink, our, what's it called? What kind of pink is it? Pink, polished pink. And we'll glue our circle onto there. All right, now I'm going to turn it upside down and I'm going to push it so that that glue dries, especially because it's a little curvy. I want it to be nice and flat. Okay, so there is that. Here's our card front that we put together. So we're going to turn this over and put our Stampin' Dimensionals on the back. And usually on a circle, I would only do 3, but because this one was curvy, I'm going to do 4, 1 on each corner. And I'm actually going to put one in the center because if you can see my first card, I did not put one in the center and it kind of sunk in a little bit. And I don't want it to do that. So if you notice that your cards have a little part that's sinking in and you don't want them to, you can always add an extra dimensional in there. Okay, so then we can put that right on the front of our card. We can turn our sentiment over and we're going to put a Stampin' Dimensional down here in the corner. And that one I think only needs just one. We'll just put it right there. Now for the sparkly bits on this one, I used the For Everything sequins. Now these are so cool, you guys, and you get a lot of them. You get a lot of them in the pack. Okay, so there they are. And oh my gosh, I just saw a bunch of hearts. I've never seen a bunch of hearts come up on my screen before. Thanks, you guys, for those little hearts. Okay. Oh, I can't find my take your pick tool. What I do with that? I don't see it. All right. Oh, we might have to do this the hard way. It must have fallen out of my little basket. Oh, well, that's bad news. Okay. Anyways, we're gonna press on. Okay. So I'm gonna take my scissors because I can't find my take your pick tool. I'm gonna look for that later. It probably just slipped out of my bag. So I'm gonna pick up some of these little mini glue dots, and I am gonna stick them around my card. And sometimes if I want them to be fairly small, I'll roll them a little bit. And there's another one. Let's see, how many more do I need? 3 more. Okay, we'll put one over here. Embossing tweezers, Sherry, I can't find those either. And I've been looking for them. I know I got them with that because I got the embossing buddy and a new embossing tray. I'm telling you, I'm losing all my tools over here. Even more than I'm losing my mind. I'm losing my tools. It does make me sad. I might have to order another pair. Hopefully I'll find them, but I can't say for sure. All right, so let's see. I'm just gonna try and pick these out with my fingers since I can't find what I'm looking for. And look, they're sticking to me. They really want to go on this card. All of them want to go. All right, so let's see. Let's just stick them around. Oh, there goes one. Okay, here. I'll put them over there. You know what? Maybe I can group up a little bunch of them right there. Just because these little ones are super tiny. Whoops. Oh, they got on top of each other. They're fighting over their place on the card. They're fighting a little bit. All right, let's see. I'll put a white one right here. You guys, this is like way back before I knew about all the tools, and I was always trying to pick everything out with my fingers, and I'd end up with glitter and little bits of sticky stuff everywhere. Okay, there we go. There's 5 of them, and we're gonna stop there. 5 is enough, right? Oh no. Okay, my phone says low battery. Hopefully you guys can still see me. All right, I'm gonna try to move a little quicker. We got 1 card left. Okay, so here is our card, the second card. There's that one. They look a little bunched up right there, so I might have to take them off and fix those, but they're a little bunchy. Okay, there is the second one. We have 1 card left, and I use the Friends Are Like Seashells set, so I need to put these guys away. Right, and I have to remember to look for those when I get off of here. I might forget. So I'm gonna try and remind myself. If I don't remember, you guys send me a message in the week and be like, hey, did you find your tweezers or your Your take your pick tool yet? Because I need those. Okay. We've got to be around here somewhere. All right, this is our last card for tonight. Thank you, Kathy. Okay, so we're going to stamp on this little piece here. Friends are like seashells. You collect them along the way. I really love this seashells stamp set. And I even saw some really pretty Christmas cards made with it. So be on the lookout for that, you guys. I'm gonna make one of those pretty seashells Christmas cards. Okay, we're gonna use this block here and line those up. And this time we're gonna use soft suede and mint macaron. So this is Very Vanilla is the base for this card. Now we're going to tap, tap, tap. Practice stamp. Tap, tap, tap. And my paper got a little wobbly from earlier when I was watercoloring. Let's see, am I too far off the edge? Can you guys see that? All right, and we're going to stamp right in the middle. That is not in the middle and it's not even straight. All right, I'm going to turn it over because if that's what I would tell you to do if you were unhappy with stamping. So we're going to try that again. Tap, 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 tap. And set it down, press. Okay, and that's better. It's a little closer to the middle and a little less crooked. Not all the way less crooked, but a little bit. All right, so we're going to clean that one off. And then we're going to get the little star is our next one. Starfish. And we'll just set it on the block. It doesn't matter which way that one goes. He doesn't have to line up. And then we're going to take our piece for the inside. I must have not put it in the thing. Okay, so here's our piece for the inside. That's 4 by 5 1/4. And we're going to take our starfish and tap, 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 tap. And we're going to stamp one up here in the corner. Tap, 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 tap. And one down here in the corner. And then we'll stamp off. And we're going to use this again. So I'm just going to set it to the side. I'm not going to clean it yet. Actually, we're going to use it again right now because we're going to stamp our envelope to match. Okay, so we're going to tap, tap, tap and stamp right down here in the corner. That way, when we send it in the mail or give it to someone, there's a nice little starfish there in the corner. Okay, so we've got our inside piece. We've got our sentiment. And we've got our envelope all stamped. So this, I want to show you, this is the piece for the inside. So we could go ahead and put that in there. So we're going to fold our card. And we're just folding all of these in half tonight. So they're pieces that are 5 1/2 by 8 1/2. And they're scored at 4 1/4. All 3 cards are the same basic measurement. All right, and then we're gonna slide our bone folder along. And remember, we always slide that bone folder along the back side of our card. So if we do make an extra crease, when we flip it over, no one's gonna know about it. Okay, we're gonna take our piece for the inside, flip it over, and take our liquid glue. Uh-oh, there's sparkles flying around from those for everything sequins. We always get everywhere. And then our squiggle down the middle. So we've got our line around the outside and our squiggle in the middle. Okay, and then we're gonna line this up so that it's in the center, and we can kind of scoot it around because we use that liquid glue again. And we can just press it down. Just like that. Okay, and now we're ready to work on the front of our card. So this piece is embossed. It's 4 by 5 1/4, but it's embossed with the, I can tell you in 1 second, Seashells 3D embossing folder. And I don't know if you can see that up close, but this one is really cool. It's got all those little shells and some little seaweed, or maybe it's kelp, I don't know, but some little water plants. So we're going to turn that over and put our liquid glue on. I'm trying to move a little bit faster, you guys. When that little battery sign came on, it kind of made me a little bit nervous. And our squiggle down the middle. Just because I know I don't have a charging cord down here that's close enough that I can plug in. Okay, and then we're gonna put that right in the center. We can scoot it a little bit to where we want it to be, and then just press it down. Hopefully it'll hold out until we're done. Okay, now next we have, let's see, this is ready, so we can put that together at the end. But we're going to take this piece here and we're going to sponge onto this. We're doing a lot of sponging tonight. I hope you guys don't mind that. So I have a little sponge dauber, and sponge daubers come in a pack of 6. So you can use them however. So we're just going to sponge around the bottom here. And hopefully that'll look a little bit like sand, or kind of like the bottom of the ocean or the sea. So we're just going to sponge all along there. And I like to sponge a little bit more along the edges and then towards the middle. So it's a little bit darker on the edge and then lighter towards the middle. Okay, so there's all our little sponging at the bottom. And then we're going to take our mint macaron and we're going to sponge this around the top. So we'll start at the edges again and work our way kind of down into the middle. I hope that sponging's not too noisy. I can hear the plates bunking around on the table. Okay, so we're getting all our colors in there. I'm so excited that you guys are commenting tonight. That's super fun for me. Okay, so there's all of that. And I really like these colors together. I didn't know for sure if I would, but I do. All right, I've got to leave that open but I just put my thumb right in that ink. Okay, now we kind of need a little tiny block. And here's a little bit of a stamping tip for you that I kind of noticed over, well, I probably have known it, but I noticed more this weekend. So if you're using a really small stamp, you kind of want to put it on a small block, because if you put it on a bigger block like this, and then you're dipping in the ink and then stamping, you're more likely to rock it and get an edge along your work. So just a little tip, try to use the right size block for your stamp. All right, so now we're going to tap this now on the mint macaron, and this is like the little seaweed one. So let me show you what that looks like. It's this little one down here. This stamp set really has a lot of images in it. And then we're going to stamp this along the bottom, and we're going to do what I would call double stamping. So we're going to stamp and then huff and stamp again. And we're going to offset them a little bit so that we get kind of a two-colored stamp. So we're going to stamp this one down, and then we'll huff, and we can stamp it up. And see how it's kind of, it gives a little bit different effect. So we're going to stamp down and then stamp up. Actually, that one, I'm not going to do that. Okay. So I want to stamp up and then down. Okay, so I'll tell you what I noticed when I was stamping the smaller one first and then stamping the taller. My image was dark on the bottom, but light on the top. And when I'm stamping the lighter image, I kind of want the whole thing to be light. So if I stamp the taller one first and then stamp down, then the whole of each image is the same grade of a color, I guess. Okay, so we're going to stamp a tall one and then a small one. Okay, and then we just need one more here on the end, I think. All right. You guys, I'm talking so much. My voice is going a little crackly. So I hope you don't mind that. Okay, so there is most of our stamping. We have one more thing to stamp. Okay, so let me get that. Oh, darn it. I forgot that I moved a little bench in behind me, and I just ran right into it. Of course I did, right? Okay, so we're going to stamp, and this is Glimmer specialty paper. So this is like the vanilla, but it's super shiny and pretty. So on here, we're going to stamp our starfish in soft suede. Just like that. Okay. All right, I need to clean those off. I got to remember that. So I can't put them away dirty. But I don't need to clean them right this second because I really want to show you guys the rest of this. Hopefully everything will hold out the way it's supposed to. Okay. So here's my mini cut and emboss machine. We're going to use this to cut out our little starfish. Okay. And we're going to use the gray plate. This is not the sandwich that they tell you to use. So if you're cutting things out, this is what you want to do.
So the gray plate first, and then one of these clear plates. And then our paper is going to go next. And now this is from the Seaside Seashells dies. So the die, the stamps, and the embossing folder all coordinate for this one. Okay, and then we're going to line up our starfish. Let's see, I think it's going to go this way. And you do have to be careful when you're lining it up because it only goes one way if you want it to match exactly. Okay, and then when I put my plates together, I always look to see which way the bend goes. And I like to go bend up. So, and it will change. Okay, so you need to rotate them sometimes. So I like to slide it in there and then kind of smoosh them together and push it in until my handle turns. And then I can grab the top and slide it through. Sorry if that was a little too shaky, guys. Okay. So then when we take it apart, take the plates off, we have a beautiful little starfish. Okay, and now we can put the rest of our card together. But really, if you don't have some of this glimmer paper, it's really pretty, just so you know. And it doesn't seem to leave too many sparkles everywhere. Like some glitter paper I know falls apart. This one doesn't seem to do that. Okay, back to our card. So we've got our piece of mint macaron. We've got our little stamped berry vanilla. And oh my gosh, I saw another heart, you guys. Thank you. I love that. That's so cool. Okay. So we're I'm sorry. I'm getting so excited. I'm getting carried away. All right, so we're going to put a little bit of glue around our edge, just like this, and then a squiggle down the middle. You probably think I'm being really silly, but I have never really seen this many hearts in a video, and I think it's fun. I think it's fun and I really like it. Okay. So now we're going to line that up in the center and glue it down. And then because we should, we're going to put some ribbon around it. And now, like I have told you this before, and I probably will tell you every time. But when I am tying a ribbon, I have to tie it upside down. So I take my project and I turn it upside down. I can't tell you why that works better for me, but it does. Okay, so then I'm going to cross my ribbon over. I put my left over the right. I don't know if you want to hear all the steps or not, but thank you, Tammy. Okay, so then we pull it down and I put my finger on there and pull up a loop on the left side. And I will tell you that sometimes I go around the back, but this time I'm going to go around the front and push that little piece through. And hopefully my bow will be right side up at the end. Okay, so we're going to pull. I'm not going to pull it tight until I know for sure that it's going the right way. Pull that, and we're going to pull this side. And then we can tighten it up a little bit. And I always try to stick my fingers in there so that I don't pinch my bow flat. I don't want it to be pinched flat. All right, so there's that one. And here's this one. I feel like that one needs to be twisted a little bit. All right. If you're watching me fuss with this, it's because I am not a professional bow tire at all. I don't know why I always struggle with the bows, but it seems to help me to make them upside down. Okay, so there's my bow. It doesn't look as pretty as my first bow. But I'm not really even sure why. Okay, so there is my bow. And I'm going to turn the ends. Let's see, maybe this way, I guess. Okay, so it's right there on that left side. And now we can turn it over. Add our Stampin' Dimensionals. And I'm just going to put one of these little ones in the middle. Little edge ones. If you don't know, when you get to the end of your Stampin' Dimensionals, when they run out, you just take your snips and snip between all those edges. And that gives you a whole bunch more. Don't waste those edge pieces. Okay, so then we're going to turn it over and center it on our card. Just like that. And we can take our sentiment and our little piece of macaron, and we're going to put those together. There's my really crooked one on the back. So if you have one that goes crooked, there's two sides to every paper. You can always turn it over and stamp again. But some of those tricks that I told you will help. So try to line them up along your grid paper and always, always, always practice stamp. Okay, so here's our sentiment, and we're just going to line that up in the center. Okay, and this one is really, I made the edge really small. Usually I cut it so that it's a little bigger like this, but for whatever reason, I made this one really small. Okay, so then we'll turn that over and we're going to add some more Stampin' Dimensionals. Oops, on the back. Some of mine were stuck together. I'm just going to put two on this one, kind of near the middle. Okay. So there's that, and I'm going to put it kind of in the center because I want to have room over here on the left for my little starfish. I'm going to turn him over, and I'm going to use one of those edge pieces because it's the perfect size, I think. Okay. And then that's sparkly little star. Well, let's see. I put my first one down here, but I think it kind of got a little covered up by the bow. So I'm going to put this one. Where's it going to go? Right up here. I think it looks super cute right there. Okay, so there is our third card for tonight. Can you believe we made three cards together? Okay. So here's the third one. Here is the second one. And here is the first one. So don't forget, I'm going to put up a host code. And if you order $35 or more, I will send you all these pieces so that you can make 6 cards. So you can make 2 cards of each of these. I don't have that host code yet, but I will put it in the description so that you can find it. And when I post the video on YouTube, I'll put it there. And I'll make sure it's in the email this week too. So I'm so glad that you could join me. You love the second one. The second one. Oh yeah, with the watercolor. That it really is fun to do that watercolor, Tammy. I don't know if you've tried that or not, but it's super fun. I'm gonna clean up my stamps and I'm gonna finish my instructions so I can send them out this week. I'm so glad that you joined me. I'll be back next Sunday, not with a full class like tonight, but with another video. Oh, hi, Lori. Thank you. Harvest Lane Stampers is my friend Lori. So I just saw that she commented too. Thanks for joining me tonight, you guys. I love Stampin' Sunday. I love showing you cool stuff. So let me know if there's anything you want to see next week. I was thinking maybe I'll do one more Christmas card. It is fun. Okay, I'm glad that you liked it. I hope you'll try. Let me know how it goes and show me what you watercolor. I'd love to see. Have a great week, everyone. I will see you Sunday, and until then, happy stamping.